Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker and today we'll be taking a look at the top 16 deck lists for a 286 person tournament that took place online courtesy of the pack and the Lorcana Play Network, and of course under set 4 format, which is great to get back into. Obviously we looked at one tournament for us as return, but then we had Lille and Atlanta, which was set 3, so it was getting back into that mindset, but those are done now. It will be set 4 going forwards, or until we get to set 5, which is brilliant. Now, I was very scared that this was gonna be a very heavily a format very heavily dominated by Emerald Steel Bucky, and Emerald Steel Bucky is very good, but thankfully this top 16 looks a lot healthier. This took place on the 2nd of June. It finished up a few hours ago, but I've been busy. I was playing D&D. When I was running D&D, my players are making their way up the Widows, which are the highest mountains in all the realm, and they had a couple of encounters with some harpies, which was a lot of fun. But there's a lot to talk about, and I want to do story time at the end for something I've been promising for a while. So let's jump straight in and take a look at the top 16 deck lists. Also, a shout out to the channel sponsors, Cardmarket, who have very competitive rates on TCG singles, so check them out if you're looking for anything specific for your Lorcana decks. But yes, in first place we do have the Squirrel himself with some Emerald Steel taking the victory, piloted by Jordan. So of course Bucky here, whenever we play a Bloodborne, makes our opponent discard a card, and Bucky's been okay for a couple of formats now, but this is definitely the strongest he's ever felt. In previous formats we didn't have 3-drop Bloodborns to go with this. We normally went turn 2 Bucky, and then turn 3 might have been a Prince John or another Bucky or something to set up a shift, and it was generally from turn 4 that you started being able to play your Bloodborns, which was still very strong, and we saw the deck do well, but being able to do it from turn 3 now with a couple of new additions is a very strong. We've got the new Aladdin here, Brave Rescuer, 3-cost inkable, 3/3 quest for 1. You shift him by discarding a location card, but that isn't something we'll be taking advantage of. We don't have a baby Aladdin, nor do we have a morph. We're just going to be paying the 3 to put him down, but you're still putting down a Bloodborne, so Bucky makes our opponent discard. And the ability crashing through whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item, which is not significant at all, getting rid of Fishbone Quills, Lucky Dimes, flutes, all sorts of things. So really strong card. And then of course, and just the most incredible addition, Diablo, Devoted Herald, 3-cost uninkable, 2/2 quest for 1. You can shift him by discarding an action card, which is available in this deck due to us playing the baby, or we can just pay 3 to put Diablo down, which again, we're putting a Bloodborne down, so our opponent discards, and we've got Bucky. He's got Evasive and Circle far and wide. During each opponent's turn, whenever they draw while this character is exerted, you may draw a card. That's whenever they draw, drawing for turn, off of Sad Beast, off of Castle, off of Friends on the Other Side, Rabbit, anything that makes them draw, you will draw a card for each card that they draw. So yeah, Diablo, when I first saw Diablo, I maybe underrated him a little bit, but said, like, I was like, in Bucky, he's going to be fantastic. Outside of Bucky, I'm not sure. Turns out I was definitely wrong about the outside of Bucky, because I've seen a lot of decks not running Bucky that are still having a lot of success with Diablo, and he is going to be a bit of a menace on our meta, but I do like Diablo. But yeah, again, in Bucky in particular, just as another 3-cost Bloodborne to trigger Bucky, and the effect, if they don't have a response for Diablo through a way to do chip damage or an evasive answer of their own, then he's just going to generate so much advantage. In this deck, we are running the 1-drop Diablo, Maleficent Spy, 1-cost inkable, 1/2 quest for 1, and Scout Ahead. When you play this character, look at your opponent's hand. So knowledge is just good to have in general, helps you work out your lines and know what's coming. Also makes you, it sort of decides for you if you should go ahead with the Diablo. You might do it anyway just to trigger Bucky, but sometimes you might, if you see they have the removal, you might try and bait it out with the Aladdin or something like that. But the cool thing about this line is you can go 1-drop Diablo, on turn 2 you can put down Bucky, and then you can shift the 3-drop Diablo immediately by discarding an action card. So we make them start discarding from turn 2, and again, then we can immediately quest with this Diablo, and we're going to start drawing cards straight away, and they might not immediately have an answer. So that's such a strong opening. And of course, other Bloodborns, Jafar, Dreadnought, great stats and draws cards. Pegasus, we've got the shift line here. We're also running the 1-drop with a 1/1 line, quest for 1 and evasive, and if they don't have the early evasive, then Pegasus is going to sit there and cheat out some on early lore. And of course, the Floodborn also has evasive, quest for 2, 3/3, and an early shift line for playing things like our own Grab Your Swords, which will be very good in the mirror. We're running a 4/4 Robin Hood line, again, just a really powerful character in and of itself, but again, a Floodborn that we can play from turn 3, so we can go 1-drop Robin Hood, turn 2 Bucky, turn 3 shift. We've got the Beast Tragic Hero here, no way to shift him, but it doesn't matter, we can just play him on turn 5. It's a Floodborn, so they're discarding, and again, another character that's just going to sit there and draw us cards. We are also running 3 copies of Tinkerbell. Again, just a strong card. Give us a bit of a bigger body for the mid-game. And again, a Floodborn, so you love to see it. And then the standard songs. We've got 4 Storm Rage on, 4 Strength for a Raging Fire for some nice chip damage. Good answers to opposing Diablos and just lots of things. 3 copies of We Don't Talk About Bruno, 5-cost Inkable Song. Return a chosen character to the player's hand, and then that player discards a card at random. So if we've got them to a point where they've got no hand and they're going draw, immediately play a character, then it's all... Yeah, but this acts as instant removal for that character. 2 Grab Your Swords, again, good for board clear and especially good in the mirror match if you really want to remove their Buckies before they can start getting advantage. And then a lovely bit of spice. We're running 2 copies of Hidden Cove, 1-cost Inkable Location, 1 to move there, 6 willpower, and Revitalizing Water. Look at me turning my head to look at it sideways. Revitalizing Waters. Characters get +1 strength and +1 willpower while here. I'm so glad to see this do well. I called that this may be a meta response just because this is so incredibly cheap. Just a 1-drop is really, there's no passive lore, but 1-drop is really reasonable. Moving there for 1 is really reasonable, and increasing your strength by 1 and your willpower is really good. It's really going to change maths. Again, even if you're just keeping your Bucky out of Tinkerbell range, and things like Diablo now aren't being banished to let the Storm Rage on or Grab Your Swords, and there's just so many cute math fixes here that can help make this card really annoying. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this list. I think it looks really good. I hate to see it because I don't like to see discard doing well. If you know my channel well, you know I'm not a fan of discard, but this looks really good. Doesn't surprise me to see it do well and taking home first place, so congratulations to Jordan. We will bunch up all the similar decks, so we'll jump to a top 8 where we've got Emmanuel also playing some Bucky. A lot of similarities here. We are seeing the addition of the 3-drop Ursula, Deceiver of All, 2/3 quests for 1, and what a deal. When she sings a song, you you sing that song again for free, and then that song goes to the bottom of your deck. So that's going to help us sing Let the Storm Rage On and Strength for a Raging Fire twice, and Let Storm Rage On drawing 2 is really good. We also see the addition of Sudden Chills in here, which again, just more discard, and working with Ursula, that's a discard too. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this with Bucky because I feel like you empty their hand so quickly. Plus, when you're playing against Bucky, your strategy tends to be just to empty your hand anyway. Plus, you're inking. You're usually quite resource starved. But I suppose this just gives you multiple lines to discard the hand. Maybe you missed the Bucky, so this is another way of doing it. So yeah, I suppose it does make sense the more I think about it. 2 copies of Baboon, really nice turn 2 drop to interrupt their Robin Hood or their Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, just all these 1-drops and take away that shift option or way too early sing. We're running 2 copies of Along Came Zeus to do 5 damage to a character or location, nice spot removal, and again we're seeing 3 copies of the Hidden Cove, clearly a really nice addition to the Bucky deck. A lot of math fixing, so yeah, deck looks really good. Congratulations to them. My voice sounds so much deeper than usual. I think it's just because I'm so tired. It's dropped even more. Going to top 16, we've got Nick, once again with some Bucky, really clean looking list. We are once again replaying the 4 Ursula, Deceiver of All to go with our songs and the same song package we looked at before. Nick making room for 4 copies of We Don't Talk About Bruno. It doesn't surprise me. It's really strong and inkable. Yeah, just pretty cookie cutter here. We're once again seeing the 3 1-drop Diablos. So lots of players. I think I saw a lot of people that were Diablo believers for early on saying I'm a Diablo believer but not in the 1-drop. Artabax said that very publicly and then even quoted his original tweet of saying that the 1-drop was bad, saying okay, I was wrong, I'm sorry. So yeah, clearly the 1-drop putting in some work, but yeah, not a lot to say about this other than what we've already said, so congratulations to Nick. And our last Emerald Steel Bucky deck, with a bit of spice here. First of all, we're seeing 4 copies of the Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan. 4-drop, uninkable, 2/3. Shift 2 is kind of relevant because running morphs. Evasive, quest for 4, but he gets 1 less lore for every card in our opponent's hand. But obviously, as you know, the name of the game is to discard it. So we should hope that this should quite consistently have 4 or 3 lore, or even 2 at a push. So yeah, just another high questing character. character, and again, he can trigger Bucky. We're not seeing a baby Flynn, but we are seeing the 4 Morph, who can shift into any of our Floodborns, so that's going to be another way that we can get Beast Tragic Hero online, and we can get this Tinkerbell online a little earlier. Once again, seeing the 4 copies of the 1-drop Diablo. Once again, the 4th Ursa Deceiver of All. We got the 4 Strike a Good Match as an additional song to take advantage of here. 2 cost Inkable, draw 2 cards, and then discard a card. So it's going to help us find our key pieces, just thin out our deck a little more, and again, another target for Ursa Deceiver of All to sing. But in this deck, we're seeing 2 copies of the Under the Sea, 8 cost Uninkable. Sing together 8, so multiple characters can band together to sing this. And all opposing characters with 2 strength or less, sorry, put all opposing characters with 2 strength or less on the bottom of their player's deck in any order. So you could sing this alongside Ursa Deceiver of All with a 5-drop, but I don't know why you would, because there's no benefit to playing this twice, because any characters that this affects once will already be gone, but worth mentioning, I guess. I suppose it's more worth singing. No, you could look at me deciding that we don't talk about Bruno should just be a sing together song. To be fair, there's ways of increasing her level, like Atlantica, to sing like double We Don't Talk About Bruno. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent now. But yeah, the Under the Sea, some nice board clear. Again, we know that there are a lot of characters with 2 strength or less. This is not a thin field, as it were. Again, if you just look at this deck, there's a lot of stuff that fills this niche. I don't know how much it's needed in this particular deck. It's not probably the way I would go, but led Andrew to top 16. Andrew, if you watch my content for any reason, I'd love to know how much this Under the Sea, how much work it put in for you, but nonetheless, congratulations on a top 16. Going back to second place, we have some Ruby Amethyst. Now, I'm really relieved to see this do well. I haven't done a lot of testing of set 4, at all, but the limited amount I have done, Ruby Amethyst was feeling really bad. And I think half of that was just me not fully understanding the new meta yet, just because lack of experience in playing in it. But there was a part of me that was feeling just like it felt like it was the worst it's felt. So it's good to see some, I think there's 3 in this top 16 do well, and again, second place. So hopefully it's just a matter of I just need to play a bit more and get a bit of a better understanding of the meta overall. But one thing that 2 of these Ruby Amethyst decks have in common is they're taking advantage of the new Flynn Rider Frenemy, 2 cost Ingable 2/2 quest for 1, and narrow advantage at the start of your turn. If you have a character in play with more strength than each opposing character, gain 3 lore. So obviously, we've got 2 really nice paths and curves here. If we go, obviously the 1-drops, the most we can get is a 2 strength character. We've got 4 Chernobog, and then 2 Olaf 2 mini, so 4 1/3s. And I like the Chernobog, just the extra card draw, help us a bit more against Bucky decks or just discard decks in general. Obviously, if we're going Snake on turn 2, then that means we're not playing Flynn until turn 3. But that is a line that we could go. But I think really you want to go 1-drop, turn 2 Flynn, and then 3-drop you either go Madam Mim Fox, who just with that 4 strength is going to be hard for a lot of decks to be able to beat that strength early on. We looked at the Emerald Steel Bucky decks that don't have a lot of characters with high strength, especially at that early point in the game. So obviously the advantage they have is they have things like Storm Rage on and Strength of Raging Fire to hopefully remove this Flynn. But if they don't hit it, then just getting this Fox out can be really good. Or again, sometimes it's just a matter of making them use those cards against the Flynn, so then they don't have them for maybe more prime targets. And against Ruby Sapphire decks, like they do have paths because they can run their own Sisu, who we'll come to in a moment. But quite often they have a passive first few turns, and then turn 4 they want to play Flavisham. So if you can get this curve of Flynn and then into Madam Mim Fox, you could like generate a nice jump in lore in the first few turns with Flynn Rider. And again, another path is this Sisu, the Emboldened Warrior, 3 cost Inkable, 1/4 quest for 2, and Surge of Power. This character gets +1 strength for each card in opponent's hand. Don't try and brawl this unless it genuinely only has a maximum of 2 strength. Not that I ever would. But anyway, the point being, if you get this down, like if they are drawing cards, like if it's a mirror match and they're doing a lot of drawing, or even if like if they're Ruby Sapphire, and then turn 4 they want to play Flavisham and draw cards, there's good odds that this Sisu could have 4+ strength by the time you go, like, because you'd put this Sisu down on turn 3, and then if it goes into your turn 4, you've got the Flynn here and this Sisu. There's good odds that this Sisu has 4, maybe even 5 strength, or maybe even just like makes them not draw. So yeah, you can really cheat out some nice early lore with Flynn here. I've tried him a little, but I wasn't keen with my first bit of testing, but this tournament has definitely shown that clearly I need to give him another go. 2 copies of Crab here, which again seems low to me, but we've got to make room somewhere for these additions. We're also running 2 copies of Dolores Madrigal, 4-cost inkable 3/3 quest for 2, and Magical Informant. When you play this character, if an opponent has an exerted character in play, you may draw a card. So I think this is like perfectly reasonable over potentially, like, again, you don't see the Maleficent 3-drop here. This is better statted, but the 3/3 questing for 2 is big. And I think the condition of having an opposing exerted character, again, there's going to be times where you're not going to have it, but I think more often than not it should be reasonable to expect that you would get this off. So yeah, really cute addition. We're still running the 4 goat, of course, and 4 rabbit as well, and then we've got 4 Maui, we've got 3 copies of Madame Medusa. Again, still so many targets for this. No Lady Tremaines in here, which I'm well, there's a reason why not. We are running 4 Brawl, really important for opposing Flynn Riders, for Diablos, a bunch of things, even Merlin Rabbits, removing them before they can generate advantage. Yeah, a lot of targets for this 2 strength or less, so a really good addition to the Ruby Amethyst decks. We've got 4 friends on the other side, and yeah, then the reason why I think this deck gets away with not playing Tremaine, otherwise I would worry about its matchup against Ruby Sapphire. For things like Tamatoas and just big bulky bodies. We got 3 copies of Be King Undisputed, Respected, Saluted, and Seen for the Wonder I Am. It came, there you go. 4-cost uninkable Song. Each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters, so the Tremaine effect, which obviously gets around Ward. So I really like this card, but I was just afraid that it was just too much fuel for Ursa Deceiver, especially if you want to play Be Prepared as well. But it's a cheaper way of dealing with like these big bulky cat drops like Tamatoa, things like that. Again, we can sing it from turn 5 with Rabbits, Dolores, Merlin, and again against Bucky decks, if they exert their non-Bucky characters and we can remove them, then maybe we can like snipe the Bucky like out of nowhere with something like this. I'm glad to see it do well, let's put it that way. 2 Be Prepared, I think it's nicer than the 4 Queen's Castle. Still such an incredibly strong card. I don't think this is going anywhere. So yeah, good to see Ruby Amethyst do well. Congratulations to Adrian for bringing it home to his 2nd place. Going into top 16, our next Ruby Amethyst list, we've got Michelle. 1-drops, once again, the 4 Chernobog's followers. I'm seeing the 4 Pascal, which I really like as an answer to the 1-drop Pegasus from Emerald. And of course, in combination with Crab, can just help deal with bigger evasive characters. We are once again running 4 copies of the Flynn Rider. We've also got 2 copies of Pegasus here, Flying Steed, who's a 2-cost inkable 3/1 with evasive. Quest for 1. So again, another character with 3 strength that we could potentially put down the turn either on turn 3 or turn 2 next to Flynn Rider, just to have a high strength character. But more than anything, this is a Diablo answer, so yeah, I think this is a pretty safe addition to deal with the Burb. The 4 Fox, the 4 Crab, once again the 4 Sisu. We are also seeing the Floodborn Sisu in here, 8-cost uninkable Floodborn, 5/4 stat line, quest for 3, shift 6 onto the baby, and I got this. When you play this character, banish all opposing characters with 2 strength or less. Again, like we keep saying, there's a lot of characters that fit this exact 2 strength or less condition, and again, he's a big bulky boy. 5/4 is respectable, he's out of Medusa range, and questing for 3 is big. So yeah, I like the 2 count. We're seeing 3 Medusas, but we are also seeing 2 Tremaines in here, which I think if you need to have this or be King Undisputed. 4 Rabbit, 4 Goat. We got 4 Brawl again here, 4 Friends, 3 Be Prepared, and 4 Queen's Castle. So yeah, looking good. Congratulations to Michelle. And our last Ruby Amethyst list, we've got Mookster. Once again, playing the Pegasus, but 3 copies. We've got a 2/2 Count of Ladies. We've got the 4 Sisu again, but no Floodborn. 2 Be Prepared. Once again, 4 Castle. We are seeing 1 copy of the Sorcerer's Spellbook, so definitely going to help in the mirror. 4 Chernobog and 4 Pascal. So this Chernobog cropping up more often than not now in these Ruby Amethyst lists, which I think is kind of necessary just for how strong Bucky is. Really helps you just keep resources and find ink and dig to the relevant pieces. We're also seeing 3 copies of the new Magic Broom, Luminary Keeper. 1 cost inkable, 1/2, quest for 1, and nice and tidy. When you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. So as well as just being another 1-drop to get our Snake or our Fox online, this is essentially, as long as you have another character you can play, this is a pay 1 to draw 1. Because you put this down, and then as long as you're putting down another character, you're just banishing it and drawing a card. So that's literally all it is. So yeah, cool. I like it. I mean, it's not that I don't like. I do like it. I just feel like there's so much that I want to find space for in Ruby Amethyst as is. But I do like having the higher count of 1-drops. Like 9 or 10 I'm aiming for, and this is 11, so nice. And again, just to help thin out our deck, find key pieces. Again, it's Bucky Protection. We've got Chernobog's Followers and Magic Brooms to help us make sure we keep drawing cards. So yeah, I like it. Well done, Mookster. Well done on the top 16. Going back to top 4, we have the first of our Ruby Sapphire decks, which was the most common in combination in Top Cut. So first of all, we've got Christian. So Ruby Sapphire, some new toys. We are seeing 1 copy of that Ice Block, the 1-drop uninkable item. Exert, chosen character gets -1 strength this turn. And this is going to work really nicely, not only with the 4 copies of Brawl that we're running, which gets more into, of course, just in general, fixing strength so that you can challenge into things. And now you are not necessarily being taken out in return, just that in itself can be good. But yeah, more characters fall into Brawl. We are running 1 copy of the 3-drop uninkable Sisu, Daring Visitor, 1/1, quest for 1, evasive, and bring on the heat. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character 1 strength or less. So more characters suddenly going to fall into this range with Sisu, Diablo being one of the most notable ones. And we're also running 4 copies of the Floodborn Sisu that we've already talked about, which banishes characters 2 strength or less. So we can put something potentially into this range. So really nice addition, as well as just being another item card that we can remove with Flavisham to draw cards, and of course recycle with Tamatoa. Going through the other items, we've of course got the 4 Porticle for the card draw, and the healing is relevant as well. 4 Fishbone Core for the ramp. We've got 2 Lucky Dime to be our closer and help us really quickly gain lore off of our big characters. And we're running 1 copy of Vitalosphere, 1 cost inkable item, pay 1, banish this item, chosen character gains rush and gets +2 strength this turn. So again, a 1 cost item, which we always want to get 1 down, and it works with Flavisham and Tamatoa. But again, it's such a strong ability. Giving rush to something is really strong. We're already running 4 Maui, but being able to rush attack with something like, with challenge with something like Medusa or Maleficent Dragon or even Tamatoa or even something like Grand Martala, just with that 3 can be relevant. And of course, we're giving them +2 strength anyway, so like, yeah, this could be really, really relevant. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Going back to the beginning, we are seeing 2 copies of the new Flynn Rider in this deck as well. What's its early line for getting a high strength character on board? I don't think it really goes for it early. I think this is later on in the game when you've got something like a Maui down, even a Madame Medusa, things like Sisu, Tamatoa, Maleficent. I think that's really where this Flynn Rider comes down for Ruby Sapphire. It's a more mid to late game, just extra bit of pressure that you put on. We're running 2 copies of the new Scuttle, who can help us search for items, which we are running plenty of, and 1/3 stat line is pretty nice, and it can be our last hurrah to find Fishbone Quill before turn 3. The Sisu I mentioned, 2 Bell, who's obviously going to quest for 5 if we are ramped up, which we are doing courtesy of 3 copies of 1 Jump Ahead and 2 copies of How Far I'll Go, of course, on top of the Fishbone Quill. So we should be able to hit this 10 ramp and be able to quest aggressively, and of course works really well with the Lucky Dime. We've got 4 Grand Martala for the draw, Flavisham for the draw, Maui, great rush character to remove threats, and obviously works well with Flynn Rider, Medusa for targeting 3-drop or less characters, Maleficent for removal and just a big body to take out characters and works well with Dime, and of course Tamatoa, one of the really like big key pieces. 8 cost Inkable 5/8. When you play him and when he quests, an item from the discard returns to our hand, so we can reuse the Ice Block, Vitalosphere, the Porpsicles, maybe they removed our Lucky Dime, and of course he gets extra lore for each item on the board, so you can make some insane jumps with Tamatoa and Lucky Dime, and 3 copies of Be Prepared. So yeah, really nice adaptation for Ruby Sapphire. I think it's probably going to end up being... Do I think it's going to be the best deck? I do think Bucky's going to be really, really good. It's going to have another really strong season. That much is for sure. But congratulations to Christian. Next up in top 8, we've got June. A lot of similarities, but some count differences. We're running 3 copies of the new Ice Block. So yeah, lots of, like, we'll be able to lower characters even more. We can use the same Ice Block on multiple characters, so going to work really well with the Brawl and the the Floodborn Sisu. We're not running the uninkable Sisu, the one that banishes characters with 1 strength. We're instead just running 2 copies of the inkable one that gets +1 strength for each card in the opponent's hand. So again, just a different flood shift line, and a bit of a more high strength character for the early game, which can maybe defend against opposing early Flynn Riders. But still, like, more Ice Blocks means that more characters can get into the range for Sisu and Brawl, so you love to see it. 2-2 split of the ladies here. We've got 4 Tamatoa, nothing cute, no, what was it called, the Vitalosphere. But yeah, it looks good. Develop your brain to find key pieces. 4 how far I'll go, 4 to 1 jump ahead. So yeah, 3 Ice Block. I definitely think I'd be on 2, so I think in the middle of the 2 we've looked at is what I would go with. But yeah, looks good. Congratulations to June. Next up, we've got Lazaro. I apologize, my friend, but congratulations on top 4. Again, a lot of similarities here. We are running 3 copies of the Ice Block, no Vitalosphere, just a standard item lineup. We're also seeing the 2 copies of the Inkable Sisu, no copies of the Daring Visitor. We're seeing 1 Judy Hops for item removal, and of course can remove your own items to draw extra cards in a pinch. Everything else looks pretty standard. 3-1 of ladies, but the bit of spice is 2 copies of Moana, Born Leader, 5 cost Inkable 4/4, quest for 2. Shift 3 is irrelevant, but the ability, welcome to my boat. Whenever this character quests while at a location, ready all other characters here. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. So we are running no location, so this is literally a 5-drop 4/4 that quests for 2. Yeah, I mean, I suppose we play it by turn 4. It's quite an early aggressive quester with a respectable stat line. It's out of Medusa range. Yeah, it's certainly interesting, and led them to top 4, so yeah, congratulations. Our next Ruby Sapphire in top 16, we've got Patrick. Once again, not playing the Daring Visitor, so more players than not opting to go for the Inkable Sisu as opposed to the Daring Visitor. Only 3 copies of Brawl here, which I do think is low, but no Ice Cubes here. So yeah, that makes more sense without the Ice Cubes. I really like the Ice Cubes. I definitely find room for at least 1, but I really like that we're once again seeing 2 copies of Vitalosphere, which again, really interesting item, giving rush and extra strength, and it's just another 1-drop item. So yeah, that's good. Congratulations to Patrick. Next up, we got Thomas, who looks really, really similar to Patrick's list. They are -3 Sisu, and instead playing 2 Scuttle. So no shift target for this Floodborn Sisu. We are seeing 3 copies of the Floodborn, but no shift target. But again, with ramp, we should be able to play this maybe by turn 6, or even if it's later than that, then hopefully we can afford it because we've ramped nice and high. But yeah, no shift target, but we're running 2 Scuttles. We are running 2 copies of Ice Block in replacing the 2 Vitalosphere from the prior list, and in this deck we're seeing 1 less Be Prepared and 1 more Brawl. So yeah, just a few count differences, and opting for the Scuttle as opposed to the Sisu. Sounds good. Congratulations to Thomas. And our final Ruby Sapphire list, going back to top 8. Sorry, I missed this one. Skipped to top 16 prematurely. But we've got Zachary, the full 4 copies of Ice Block. Really clean looking list here. We've got the 4 Ice Block, no Vitalosphere, but the rest of the items look standard. 4 Brawl, 4 of the ramp cards. We've got 2 Scuttles in here to help find items. 4 Grand Martala. Once again, no shift target for the Floodborn, and a 4 full count of the Sisu empowered sibling. Yeah, looks really nice. It looks really clean. Yeah, I think Ruby Sapphire is going to have a really, really strong season. So congratulations to Zachary. Going back now to top 8 for our final ink combination. Sapphire Steel players rejoice. We have Domenico with some Sapphire Steel. Adapting ever so slightly, not loads of changes here. We're of course taking advantage of the new Fortisphere 1-cost inkable item. Play this item, draw a card, and the second ability, Extract of Steel. Pay 1, banish this item, and chosen character of yours gains bodyguard. So of course mostly playing this for the fact that it is a 1-cost inkable item that draws us a card, which is nice. We want to find our key pieces, and of course we want toys for Flavisham to work on. But the second ability, being able to give bodyguard, I'm sure came up at times. There's a lot of big bulky bodies here. The Hades in particular comes to mind. So yeah, I absolutely imagine that came up. We're seeing 3 McDuck mana here, which a lot of Sapphire Steel players are moving away from, but if you can make it stick, then it can generate a lot of lore. It does demand some answers. But most interesting at all, Mushu Report would be very glad to see this. We're seeing 2 copies of the Great Stone Dragon, 3-cost inkable item. Asleep, this item enters play exerted, and Awaken, exert, put a character card from your discard into your inkwell face down and exerted. So talked about this when we were reviewing the Ursula's Return set, that it's a slower fishbone quill, and the advantage of Great Stone Dragon is that it's not depleting your hand, but the disadvantage is that you are limited by how many characters are actually in your discard pile. Of course, the other disadvantage is that we can't really play it from turn 3. I don't think there's a way. There are ways of exerting, re-readying items, but I don't think there's anything that we could get down on turn 1 or 2 to then play this on turn 3 and then immediately exert it. I think the soonest you could get it online at the moment is turn 4. That may change in the future. But yeah, again, we are obviously limited by how many characters we have in our discard. But of course, we are a... I was about to say we're a Whole New World deck, and I am not seeing any copies of Whole New World here. What on earth is going on? Yeah, I was about to say that we're running Whole New World, and we should be able to flood our discard quite consistently, but we're not running a Whole New World. We're running 3 Grab Your Swords, good, lovely, and we're running 2 copies of Along Came Zeus. Indeed he did, love to see it. Of course, the 4-1 jump ahead, know how far it goes in here. But yeah, we're not seeing any Whole New World, so we are reliant on Flavisham. We can draw, of course, with Tragic Hero Beast. And of course our Portacles and our Fortispheres. And I mean, I suppose we're just saying, hey, you be the one to play a Whole New World. Yeah, interesting. Gonna have to think about this one for a while. 1 copy of Baboom, really like it. Just interrupt those shift lines nice and early. 2 copies of Fire the Cannons as well. I like this as a 1/1, but that's preference. I think this seems perfectly fine. Our 1-drops are only our items. No Captain Hook, no Robin Hood line in here. We've got 4 copies of Smee, of course, great stats, great questing. Grand Matala for additional draw along with Flavisham. Cogsworth Singer for our Grab Your Swords and our Along Came Zeus. And of course, just annoying and annoying to remove because of ward, and giving support to characters is good. Running 3 copies of Beast Hard-Headed, so really a lot of item hate, which is good. And of course, he's a 5-cost character, so can sing songs, and questing for 2 is nice. Of course, Beast Tragic Hero for the draw, Tinkerbell to really help control the board, 2 copies of Hades for spot removal, and of course, a lot of these all work really well with Dime, and of course, the Tamateur to recycle the items. So yeah, deck looks really nice. Just, I was very caught off guard by the lack of Whole New World there. Yeah, what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments, but congratulations to Dominico, led it to top 8. And our final deck list, also Sapphire Steel. In top 16, we have Tyler. They are rocking the Cruella de Vil, 2-cost inkable, 3/2 quest for 1, and you gain evasive during your turn, so going to deal with Diablos and any other evasives we may see. We're running the Scuttles to help us find items which are exactly the same: the Fortisphere, the Porp, the Fishbone, and the Dime. 4 copies of Gravity. Another deck that's not running Whole New World. I've missed a memo. I have quite clearly missed the memo. I've not been playing very much the last few days. Okay, I need to go away and think about my life. We're seeing 4 copies of Let It Go for removal. And really interestingly, we're seeing 1 copy of Avalanche, 4-cost uninkable action. So action worth bearing in mind. It's going to dodge Ursula Deceiver. Deal 1 damage to each opposing character, and you may banish chosen locations. So this is nice. Again, like this deck, these decks tend to struggle against locations anyway, especially Queen's Castle, so that's a nice addition to have. But it's another early way to deal with Bucky. Obviously, we would hope that we would be able to play Grab Your Sword, but there's no shift line here to be able to play Grab Your Sword early. So yeah, this would be our earliest that we could do it, but I bet it put in some work. Tyler, I'd love to know how many times this avalanche came in the clutch. Everything else looking pretty standard, but we are seeing 2 copies of the new Chen Pao, 5-cost Ingable, 4/7, Quest for 1, and Bodyguard. Doesn't surprise me at all to see this card. It's another 5-cost character, which Sapphire still really likes, and the 4/7 stat line is just brilliant. It's out of Medusa, it's out of Zeus. It requires so much to get around, so I really like the addition. And we're also seeing 2 copies of the new Aerial Treasure Collector, who I think I underrated when I first reviewed. 6-cost Uninkable, 3/4, Quest for 3, and Ward. So she's harder to remove, and while you have more items in play than each opponent, this character gets +2 lore. So again, with Dime, if we've got Dime down and at least 8 ink, we can go Aerial and immediately trigger the Dime, and then which gains us 5. And if they can't answer the Aerial, the next turn we're gaining 10. So as long, all we need to do is have found another 5 in between turns 1 and 8 or whatever it is, because you ramped. So yeah, it looks really, really strong. I like the avalanche. I'm a bit caught off guard by the lack of Whole New World, but I guess we just say, hey, if like a lot of we're gonna let them do it, and if they're not playing Whole New World, then we're just gonna rely on our beasts and our Flavishams. Flavisham alone can put in so much work, and of course, because we're running 4/4 of Porpsicle and Fortisphere, we just thin our deck so much easier anyway. So yeah, it kind of makes sense the more I think about it. Still a surprise, but yeah, you'd love to see it. Congratulations to Tyler. And that is it for the top 16 deck list for the latest online event hosted by the Pack and the Lorcana Play Network. 286 players. I'm actually really happy with this top cut. I was worried it was really going to be an absolute Bucky fest. I've been fearing that squirrel so much, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I still can't talk. I need to go to bed after this. He is to be feared, but wasn't as dominant as I worried he would be. Ruby Sapphire putting in a really strong showing. Only 3 Ruby Amethyst decks, but that's kind of better than I was anticipating. But of course, worth noting, not a single Steel Song deck, and not a single EA Tempo deck. Now that second one surprises me less. Artabax has said from quite early on he feels like that deck is a bit dead in the water this set. Maybe that will change just as the meta adapts. But I know a lot of players have moved away from that. I still think Steel Song could do really well. I am a bit surprised to not see it make top cut in this tournament. I imagine it will pop up again. But other than that, not a huge amount of surprise. The biggest surprise being it's a bit more diverse than I was expecting it to be, or worried it was going to be. So that's really good to see. So yeah, huge congratulations to our top 16 players. Alright, I've been promising a story for ages now, so I'm just going to tell it. So that's Lorcana stuff over. Thanks for watching. But if you are interested in hearing a little story from my acting past, and I will also say thank you so much to everyone that checked out the Lorcana Villain lore dump video. It has done so much better than I ever expected it to. Like, I didn't think it would necessarily even hit 1,000, but I was like, if I can get close to the 1,000 mark, then that'd be great. But it surpassed it and is one of my most liked videos, probably in the top 5. So that was a big shock. So I definitely feel safer to do things like that in the future. So just really great to see that seemed to be really well received. There's still a couple of things that I ended up forgetting to talk about, which I'll probably bring up over the next couple of videos. Not all of it now because we're nearly at the hour mark, but I have been promising this story for a while. So I have lied to you the tiniest bit. I told you it's the story of when I broke both my arms at the same time. It's actually the story of when I fractured both of my arms at the exact same time, but it still resulted in me being in a full cast and a sling. It was still really bad. I didn't have use of my arms for a long time. But yeah, let me tell you the story. So throughout my acting career, I worked for a lot of different types of companies, and one company in particular that I accepted a job with. Can I name them? Should I name them? It's probably fine to name them. I'm not going to though, just because it's not really relevant. But I took a job for a company who basically supply entertainment teams for different hotels in different parts of the world. They've got contracts with loads and loads and loads of hotels and loads of different places. And the idea is they hire a bunch of singers, actors, and dancers. And essentially you get put into teams of 6. And the idea is you have a 6-week rehearsal period where you learn 6 days a week, 9 to 5. You learn, over those 6 weeks, you learn 8 different shows, all of different kinds, different themes, hits from the musicals, rock and roll hits, Motown hits, pop diva hits, all different types of music for different like clienteles or to satisfy like vast kind of audiences, and which is generally just like people on holiday. So yeah, I accepted this job. It involved, the rehearsals were in London. They provided accommodation, like the company hired out like loads of rooms in this hostel, but you were only it was room share, but you were room sharing with people that were also at the same job, so it wasn't like complete strangers, like it was people you were getting to know over the course of time. But yeah, there were essentially about 200 people that were all brought to this same part of London, were living in this hostel. I think it was more like 2 hostels, and every day these 200 people would come to this same, think of it as just like a really huge sports hall. And in your teams of 5, you would spread out throughout the hall. You would have like a little square sort of marked off, which was like your stage area. And the choreographer would get up into the middle, to the front of the room. She'd be on a hired stage so that people could see her. She'd have like a Britney Spears mic, so that she could be heard properly. And she would teach the choreography for the dance sections of these shows that we would learn. And all these teams of 6 in the room would all learn the exact same shows at the exact same time, with different people being, okay, your male singer 1, your male singer 2, your female singer 1, your female singer 2, your female dancer 1, your female dancer 2. That was generally how it was. You had 2 male singers, 2 female singers, and then 2 dancers. The singers would dance as well, but not as much as the dancers, and the dancers wouldn't sing at all, and that was how it worked. So you would all learn all these shows at the exact same time over the course of these 8 weeks. And I'd done jobs like it before. It was a lot of fun. I got on really well with my team, and yeah, we were learning all these types of shows. And then after the 3-week part, like at the halfway point of rehearsals, we were all told that we were being sent to a place outside of London. I'm not going to name it, it's irrelevant, but we were being sent to another place. All expenses paid. They paid for our travel to get there, and again, we were put up in accommodation there, and we had a bonus to our paycheck for like the change. So no one had a problem with it, but we were told you're going to be going to this centre basically for 5 days, where you're going to do all like the health and safety talks and basically all the admin, a lot of the contract stuff, and like again, a lot of it was health and safety and like guest relations and all that sort of stuff. But over that period of time, we were also told that we were learning an additional show that was not originally told to us that we were going to have to learn. And this show, we were told, was going to be basically a clowning slapstick show, which would only last 15 minutes and would just be a short thing that we would do at the hotel during the day. And it was something that we could do without a stage or without many props, so that we could either go into the dining room and do like 10 minutes entertainment to like keep children entertained while families were finishing meals or whatever, or we could go out by the pool where people were sunbathing and we would just be 10 minutes entertainment while people were just relaxing. And yeah, clowning and slapstick, like if you think of things like Laurel and Hardy, like that's probably before a lot of your time. I'm showing my age there, but think of it as like, it's very over the top acting, it's pantomime acting, it's very, oh, I am the hero, I am coming to save the day, or oh, I am the villain and I'm going to poison the well. It's where it's very over dramatic acting, and it tends to be very physically stereotypical and over the top, and the idea is it's meant to be funny. So we were like, cool, that's fine. I actually really like that type of acting anyway. When I was in college, I studied something called commedia dell'arte, which is one of the oldest forms of acting, and it's kind of like the birth of acting, where they didn't used to actually speak. It was basically like The Sims, and they would use like gobbledygook language. So if like the hero was coming into room to save a damsel in distress from a spider, they would come in and they'd be like, huh, huh, Ha ha! Oh, ha 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 da, 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 da. Very dramatic, very cheesy, very cringe, but a lot of fun if you like a bit of cringe like I do. But yeah, that was the idea, that like we would do this slapstick like clown routine, and we kind of had a bit of control over how we wanted to design it. We were given a bunch of scripts and a bunch of themes and a bunch of scenarios, and we were kind of told, pick ones that you like, come up with some ideas, and like a lot of it was meant to be improv, a lot of it was meant to be unscripted. And the idea is, well, we went to the center and we did a couple of days of admin and health and safety stuff, and then there was a day they were like, okay, for the next 3 hours you're gonna get into your teams and you're gonna go and look at this clowning show. Again, we've got some, like, not scripts, but like bullet points that gave you different scenarios that you could try out. So we went away and did this, and it was only in 2, so like our group of 6 split into 2, 2, and 2. And we went off and tried some things, and me and the girl that I partnered with, we took one of the scenarios that was presented to us. Was the idea of 2 clowns who find a box of clothes for superheroes and decide that they want to become superheroes. And again, it's meant to be very child friendly. So it's very basic, like you make it more entertaining than the material might suggest. So we're like, okay, well, this sounds fun. We could, like, I'm sure we can come up with some ideas of stupid things we could do here. So long story short, we tried a bunch of things, and while everyone was rehearsing, one of the directors was going around different rooms and like watching people try things out. And unbeknown to us, he was like kind of picking people that he thought were doing a good job. That then later on in the day, we were all gathered into this room and they were like, okay, Ben here, the director, has picked a few people that he saw what we're doing and he kind of liked what they were doing, and we'd like to ask you to get up in front of everybody. So the 100+ fellow actors and performers, and then like all the directors, and then of course there's a musical director that was teaching us the songs and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we've picked some pairs that we'd like to get up and demonstrate what they were doing, because we want you to. So, unbeknownst to me and my partner, we'd been picked as one of the pairs that the director was like, oh, I quite like what they were doing. And something that we had done in the improv was, among our gobbledygook routine, I had done this thing where I'd like pretended to go to this chest of superhero clothes and pull out like the mask, and I'd made a big deal of like tying it around my head, and then I acted like I'd made myself blind and kept walking around and bumping into things and trying to get my partner to like help me, and I kept making it difficult for her to help me. And then I got this cape, and I was like, okay, I know something I can do here. So I had, for a few years now, like, I've always said I was an actor and singer. I've never considered myself much of a dancer. I have had to dance for shows. No, I'm not showing you any videos, ever, of me dancing. But I have had to dance in the past. And at college, we took it as a subject, like we had to study it. But it didn't really appeal to me. The only thing that I really got out of dance was sometimes we would have breakdancing like lessons for like, we would get like, they'd bring in an expert, and I'm not a fan of a good, I was about to say I'm not a good breakdancer. I'm not a breakdancer. I can't do that either. But I did learn a couple of really simple tricks. Like I used to be able to backflip. I can't anymore. But I learned a few things, but I think I could still front flip, and I can like nip up. Like if you watch wrestling, you know what a nip up is, like the straight kick up from the floor. I can still do that. There's a few random tricks that I learned here or there that I just picked up over the years. And one of them was really simple, not difficult. It looks cooler than it actually is. Is I would literally just do a run and dive, but like dive low, and I would hold my arms out like a wing, make my body really flat, hold it for as long as I could, and then right at the last minute I would tuck and roll through it. And just like putting your arms out like that, like it looks better than it is. or it's not as hard as it looks, let's put it that way. And this is something that I had whipped out in random shows here and there for years. I was really good at it because I'm long. I can get some good distance as well, and it looks impressive because, again, I'm a long specimen. And then just the last minute tuck dive, like, it's cool. So I was like, okay, well, this is something I could do. I can pretend that I'm going to try and take off and fly as this clown that wants to be a superhero. And then me, the actor, I will do my tuck roll to do it safely, but I'll make it really big and dramatic and do this really big, like, teddy bear roll onto the floor, and then I'll look, like, really dazed, like I've basically fallen out of the sky, and hopefully it will make the families laugh and everyone will be happy. It was a really simple thing that I had done in the practice session. And now here we are in front of the entire group performing it. So it's going really, really well. Like, everyone was really laughing at what we were doing. Like it felt really good. And then we got to that section where, like, again, it was half improv, half pre-planned, because, like, I'd done this dive when we were practicing earlier. So when we were told, oh, you guys are going to get up, when we were walking to the front, we were kind of like, just basically do what we did before, like, try and just copy it as well as we can. So we got to the part where I did this dive, which I came along to do. And I took off, and I immediately realized that I had dove far too high. You're meant to, like, keep yourself grounded to the floor and just go long. But adrenaline, like, I was pumped up because, again, everyone was laughing. It was getting good reactions, and I was really going for it. And it was my mistake. I dove too high, which wouldn't have always be a problem, but we were not on a stage. We were not in a dance studio with a sprung floor or anything like that. We were just in, like, an office. You're going to get a picture in a minute. I tried so hard to find a video of this because it did exist. I've seen it in the past, but I couldn't find it. But I was able to find a picture, which you're going to see in just a moment. But yeah, this floor was just, like, pure hard carpeted floor. And in the air, like, it literally lasted 3 seconds, but time completely slowed down in my head. And I was like, okay, I've dove too high. There's a couple of ways I can do this. I can either still try and roll through it, but my concern in that moment was, I've dove too high. This is not a sprung floor. If I land ever so slightly wrong, I'm going to completely mess up my neck. And that did not sound appealing. So I was like, okay, the other option is I just don't tuck, and I just let myself crash down on my front. Which obviously also didn't sound great, but in that moment in the air, it sounded more appealing than my neck. So I decided to take it on my front, and then quite naturally, as I was falling down, I put my arms out like this to brace the fall. Smack, right on my arms here and here. Now, in that moment, I was like, oh, that hurt. It was like an ow. I had no idea the extent of the damage I had actually done in that moment. And this is the bit that will, like, probably is the most surprising part of the story. This was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I lasted another, like, 4 hours before the pain really started setting in. And that, my friends, is down to nothing more than pure adrenaline. And not only that, like, again, it had already been it had been 3 intense weeks of rehearsals. I was kind of in my underslept, like, just, like, hyped up mode. I was just plowing through, just adrenaline and coffee. And yeah, just, like, again, at the time it was an owl, but finished the routine. I got back up, finished the routine, and, like, finished to thunderous applause and great feedback. Went and finished the rest of the rehearsals for something else, and then later, as the evening progressed, my arms started feeling a little bit number, but I could still move them fully. Everything was fine. I was just like, oh, blimey now, I definitely need to take some painkillers and have a good night's sleep. And yeah, I just went about my business as usual, and then went to bed that night, woke up like this, and I couldn't move. I could not move my arm any more than that. I'm in a room on my own. I quite literally had to do this ridiculous, like, bend over, try and grab my phone. I could not move my arms any more than further down than this. I was stuck in this position, and I had to get into the most awkward position, pick up my phone. looks so bad, and I don't intend it to look as bad as it is, but I was literally stuck like this. Anyway, managed to get in contact with someone to come and help me. They took me to the hospital. I was in pretty quickly for scans, and yeah, doctor told me, yeah, you fractured both your arms in the exact same place at the exact same time. She was like, I should cast both your arms, but if I do, you will have no movement at all. Like, not that you're gonna have much, but like you'd struggle to eat more than you're gonna. So before, yeah, so I'll show you the picture now. This is the moment it happened. This is the mid-air shot of me diving through the air, and this is me on the floor. And just look at the before and after of everybody's faces in the room. Like, and there's loads of, like, behind, there's loads more behind all these people. And like, look at all the face plants from everybody. Like, oh my god, I can't believe he just did that. Yeah, that was the moment it happened. And then yeah, went to the hospital. They casted one of my arms and put the other one in a sling, so that I could have some sort of movement to be able to help me eat or drink. Here's the dodgy bit. At the hospital, they gave me painkillers as well, pretty strong ones. Got back to the venue, and I don't know this at the time, but I found out later that basically as soon as I got back to the venue, the staff had me sign something to say that they weren't responsible, which they weren't. I would have signed this happily anyway, but I was like, the doctor gave me the good stuff for the pain, let's put it that way. So that was kind of dodgy, but they did send me home. It was like I was a good like 4 hours drive from home at this point, and like they got me a private car, which basically took me straight back. They paid me another month's wages. But yeah, I ended up obviously not being able to finish that contract, had to leave my team. Again, we were meant to have another 3 weeks of rehearsals, and I was going to be out for months. So that put a stop to that job. So that ended up being the longest period of time I ended up being at home. But to be fair, like a few weeks in, I took a teaching job where I was able to just go and like sit in a chair and say that was good or that was bad. I wasn't that bad as a teacher. But yeah, that's my broken arm story, which has taken us well over the hour mark. I hope it was worth it to some of you. Maybe a bit of an anticlimax, but I do think that this picture in particular is kind of gold. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the chat, that's easy for me to say. If you are brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.